Hey everyone, welcome to the RBD chapter, Rigid Body Dynamics. So we talk about objects that do not deform in themselves. And what we do with this, as you can see, is mainly destruction. Now it's actually quite important to understand or keep in mind that RBD simulations are rigid. And that means that we can do certain things that we can't do with other simulation types. For example, we can optimize the simulation, because when we know that an object is not deforming in itself, then we can calculate it as one object represented as one point instead of having to calculate every single point of that object. And we will see why this is important, because we mainly work with packed objects for RBDs. And this only makes sense when you understand, oh, an object by itself can never deform. We assume that for RBD simulations, and this is why it's so important to keep that in mind. The second thing we have to understand is when we talk about RBD simulations, we actually talk about the bullet library. And you can actually read more about this on the website of this library called pybullet.org. And as you can see, this is a third-party library. So it's not actually written by side effects. And this is important to understand, because back in the day, many years ago at this point, side effects programmed their own RBD system, but they then switched to Bullet. And interestingly enough, most other 3D programs use Bullet as well for RBD simulations, even real-time engines like Unreal Engine or Unity. But as far as I know, also Maya and Blender use Bullet internally for the RBD simulation. So it's kind of the standard in the 3D or in the CG world. And what you have to understand is that it comes with a couple of kind of limitations and problems. And that it comes from the fact that this is first of all a real-time library. So when you look at the title here, it says Bullet Real-Time Physics Simulation. And this already gives you a hint what kind of decisions the program has made. For example, when you talk about real time, you always make the speed more important than the accuracy. And this is something, unfortunately, you might run into because it comes with a couple of problems. The Bullet system has a tendency to be a little bit unstable and problematic, and we will look at how to solve this, but it's important to understand where that comes from. Even in the next chapter, it actually says home of Bullet and PyBullet, physics simulation for games first, and then visual effects second, and robotics and reinforcement learning. So keep that in mind. This comes from a real-time background, and this explains a little bit the quirks and problems that come with it. That does not mean, by the way, that it will be always real-time in Houdini. It just means that, again, speed was more important for the programmers than accuracy. It also comes with a couple of special things. For example, in all other 3D simulation types in Houdini, we can use collisions with volumes, SDFs. We looked at this a lot. Bullet is the only system that does not understand SDFs at all, so it will only work with normal geometry. Of course, we will look into this. And another thing that comes with collisions with Bullet is it works better, much better with convex objects than with concave objects. We will talk about this in detail as well, of course. So all those things that might feel a little bit weird and special about RBDs comes from the fact that it's a third-party library, and it's really important to keep that in mind because it explains a lot of special, things that we will see in the next couple of videos. All right, I hope this was helpful so far. See you later where we talk more about this. Thanks very much and see you later. Cheers.